Hey guys, so I'm going to go over a couple things here, take a few minutes and talk about paper tuning and the importance of why we do it. So every bow that we push out, I really stress on the importance of paper tuning. And here's a couple of ways that will help you guys maybe be able to do it on your own and make these little adjustments for yourself, or there are things that do get complicated that you'll have to bring it to us or to your pro shop that is going to cause us to have to twist cables or whatnot. But this kind of gives you an idea of what you're dealing with and what you need to do in order to deal with this. So, so why do we paper tune? Paper tuning is the most effective way to tell if your arrow is flying true out of your bow. The way the arrow tears the paper tells the shooter why adjustments need to be made to achieve a perfect bullet hole. An arrow that is not shooting a bullet hole through paper will not be accurate and loses energy from poor flight. So with that being said, if your arrow is not coming out of your bow at a perfect angle, 90 degrees off the string, it's going to create drag. And any drag from that arrow is not is going to create friction and is ultimately going to lose speed. So let me give you kind of an instance here and show you what a few shots on paper are looking like. So if you look right here, this hole right here has a low fletching or high point tear. The fletching being here, the point being here. It's about 2 inches here. So with this instance, or what they call a low tail or tail low tear, you're either going to raise your string knocking point or lower your arrow rest. In this instance, you're automatically already setting your bow up with your arrow rest and your arrow through your Berger holes at 90 degrees. So you've already set those heights. So you can't necessarily just raise your knocking point that much at 2 inches. So obviously that's going to tell you that your cams are probably not in time. It's going to require a few twists in your cables. This is something that a pro shop or a press is going to be needed to be done. This is a very, very vertical tear, right? So we don't have any left or right tearing. If you're going to be tearing left, or right, if you notice this tear down here at the bottom to where the fletching is coming in here and the bullet tip is here, so you're tearing this way with the vertical tear. So it's tearing actually right and then vertical. You're always going to fix your vertical tear first, then fix your horizontal tear. So with that, your vertical tear being that, excuse me, your vertical tear being that you are going to be tail low, you're either going to move your rest low or your nocking point slightly high. And then you're going to move your rest for your bullet tip on this side to chase your fletching. So you're going to need to move your rest slightly left. That's opposite of what you guys are looking at, but you're going to move your rest slightly left to chase your bullet back to your fletching. Okay, whichever direction your fletching is the way that you want to move the point of your arrow back in that direction. Okay, so you're going to want to move it in that direction to get back to your fletching. Okay, so always chase your vertical first and then your horizontal. All right, your ultimate goal is shooting an absolute bullet hole. This right here. That is what you want to shoot. That is an absolute perfect bullet hole. It's not going to get any better than that. So, when you're first setting up on your bow, I use a couple of things here. These are pretty inexpensive. These string levelers. You're going to put these string levelers on, and then you're going to take your arrow. You're going to set your arrow through the rest. With your rest up, and then you'll set this past the shelf. When this, I'm obviously not on my vise just for purpose here, but you're going to make sure that this on your string is level, knowing that your vertical string is level, and then your arrow is level with your rest, knowing that your arrow is running through the Berger holes, and that is going to give you the best place to start from. Knowing that your arrow is at 90 degrees on your string, and that way you can move your D-loop and set your rest accordingly, is going to give you the best starting point to go to the paper tune. I shoot a 300 spine because of my poundage. Arrow spine has a lot to do when arrow tuning or paper tuning. Just last night, I've got a buddy that is shooting 70 pounds. He likes shooting a 350 Zombie Slayer. And he said, Zach, I want to shoot my bow through paper. I said, okay. So he shoots his bow through paper, and he's got a slight right tear. Maybe a quarter of an inch slight right. But his sights at 20 and beyond are just, they are spot on. He's very, very accurate with his sights. And so just out of curiosity, I had him put in my 300 spine Zombie Slayer, and we both run full shaft. And he shot a bullet hole. So do we move his rest so he shoots a bullet hole, then ultimately has to move his sight, knowing that he's just perfectly shooting awesome, and he's got good speed. I mean, a quarter inch right tear is very minimal. It's not like he's tearing paper like this. It's just slightly off. But going up in arrow spine was able to correct the issue, and so we ultimately decided not to make that correction because hunting season's right now, and he doesn't want to re-sight in and move anything. That the next batch of arrows that he buys, he's just going to bump up in spine. So it's easy. It's easy to do that. Know that according to your manufacturer on the bow that you're shooting, they all throw out a guideline on the poundage and your arrow selection. Now, that is a guideline. It is not a guarantee. Every bow is different. Every arrow manufacturer is different. What we have found the best is if you're shooting 60 pounds, 400 spine, shoots great. If you're shooting 70 pounds, 3 to 350 shoots great. Anything over 70 pounds, 300 to 250 shoots great. Anything under 60 pounds, we're still running 400s up to about 55. Anything below 55, 50 pounds, you can start jumping up to 450, even 500s. We don't have very many shooters that are shooting below 50 pounds. Even the youth that are shooting right at 40, 45 pounds are still shooting 400 spine, and they're shooting fine. They tune well, and we mostly run Black Eagle arrows, and they have very, very good results. So, but definitely check to your manufacturer specs, your arrow specs, and they have good guidelines. They know what they're talking about. So back to the paper tune. Compound bow timing is important to the flight of the arrow. On a 2-cam style bow, be sure that the cams are aligned in the same position at full draw. If they're not in sync with each other, the bow can be out of timing, which will affect how it shoots through paper. If your bow timing needs adjusted, you'll need to use a bow press. Obviously, you're going to have to come to us for that, or your local pro shop. It's important that your arrow spine, the stiffness, it is suited correctly for your bow. The actual draw weight and the arrow length. If your arrow is overspined or underspined, it'll give you an inaccurate feedback through the paper tuner. And then all of your companies, they have a website for the actual guidelines. So remember, if you shoot through paper and you have a tail left or a left tail tear, you're going to want to move your arrow rest to the right to correct. Making sure that you always want to shoot through paper with a sight that has a bubble, and making sure that you're not putting any extra hand or twist in the riser. That's very, very important, because you can manipulate how an arrow shoots through paper with your hand and the riser. You don't want to put any torque on that riser. And you want to make sure that that bubble is as spot on as being level as possible when you squeeze that trigger. So a left tail or a tail left tear, you're going to want to move that arrow rest to the right to correct, making sure that you're always taking the broad head end or field point end of that arrow to chase to your fletching. Tail right tear is going to be the opposite. You're going to move your arrow rest to the left to correct. So a tail right tear, meaning that your fletching is your fletching is going to be to the left bullet, or sorry, your fletching to the right, your bullet to the left. Tail high, you're going to lower your string knocking point or raise your arrow rest. The tail is controlled by your D loop, your knocking point. The rest is controlling the bullet point or your broadhead end. So realize when you move those two, that's what it's controlling. If you're tail low and you raise your string knocking point, yes, you're lowering your nose end of your arrow, but you're also raising the tail end of the arrow. So you want to do it in half of the amount that you think that you're going to need. And if you're having multiple issues to where you're tearing at diagonal, left and low, or high and left, high and right, you're always going to fix your vertical tear, then fix the horizontal tears. And a telltale sign, if you're just out target practicing and you're looking at your arrows down range and you have all of your arrows are stacked, you know, in succession to where all of the arrows are equal, you know, stacked on top of each other, that's a telltale sign that your bow is flying pretty correct. When you have arrows that are all stacked in at weird angles, you know that your bow is just not paper tuned correctly. That you're putting added torque in your riser, that your bubble's not level, you're getting inaccurate flights. Fletchings can be a big factor. If you watch your arrow pinwheel, you know, out of your bow, that it's really doing weird flight and not just flying true. Also, spin test your arrows. Make sure that you don't have any wobble to your arrows. Most of us, for competition, we always shoot 001 for straightness. Every now and then for hunting, we'll back down to 003s, but most of the time we're all shooting 001s. Like this one is a 003 300 Zombie Slayer from Black Eagle, with the boning. I'm not sure which ones these are. What fletchings are these ones? Oh, these are the 2 1/4 inch shield cut X veins from boning, and then we got the 25 grain Illuminox. So they in a full shaft arrow, and they're just running 100 grain field point and broadhead. So all we do, we're tuning all of these at with field point, and then we screw them on and our broadheads, and we go hunt. We don't have to do any extra testing or sighting in with broadheads. We shoot all mechanical in Washington, and we don't have an issue shooting out to 100 yards. They're spot on, which is very, very nice. If you guys have any questions about the broadheads that we shoot, you can always get a hold of us. So check us out at the Facebook page at TNS Archery Outdoors. And check us out online, tnsarcheryoutdoors.com. You can also give us a call, 360-304-9103. We're always in the shop. Wednesday's the only day that we're closed. We're going to start doing a lot more videos. We got tips and tales that we do. It's a little segment on Wednesdays here and there, little tips and tricks. And we'll start doing more and more on the YouTube channel. Also TNS Archery Outdoors. So make sure that you smash the like button and subscribe. And we'll do more and more, and anything else that you guys want, we'll try to get to. So, all right, thanks.